as I started to learn, my mind was just blown about what it really entails, the success rates, how many people actually die from treatment as opposed to the cancer itself.
Welcome to another episode of Superior Mind Body Health Podcast. I am your host, Monika Banach, a health coach and an advanced practice nurse. Today, I have Nathan Dickson. He is a cancer survivor. We are going to talk about his journey of overcoming cancer and his fasting journey as well, how it helped him heal his body and how he is utilizing it to basically keep his body at the optimal. Welcome, Nathan Dickson, to Superior Mind Body Health Podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Hey, Monica. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor to be here and keen to talk all things fasting and cancer.
Yes, I'm super excited. And I mean, this is something I've been wanting to talk to you about because there's so much, with fasting and cancer and just prevention and keeping your body at the optimal health and functioning. So I'm looking forward to sharing your info and your insights with others that maybe are going through what you have gone through, or maybe just want to prevent from ever getting there, right? It's easier to prevent than ever get there and have to go through chemo or whatever else, right? So if you don't mind, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you live.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so obviously, yeah, my name's Nathan. I live in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. And yeah, I'm almost 30 now, married, no kids yet. And it was about, almost maybe 7.5, 8 years ago that I got a cancer diagnosis, and that really transformed my health life. But like you say, everyone should be more into prevention. Don't wait till it's too late before you start to turn those things around. But it really taught me a lot about health, and that's become my main passion now. And so at this point in life, I just want to help other people be able to prevent and manage their disease and overcome it ultimately. And yeah, just help people with everything that I've learned. So that's my
Awesome.
mission at the moment.
Well, so you said you were diagnosed 7 years ago, so you were like 23,
Yeah, it's 22.
22, 22.
Yeah, I'm just about to turn 30, so it's probably more like 7.5 years ago now.
So
So
how did that come about? Like, what kind of cancer, and how did you discover like that you had cancer?
yeah, so I originally felt a lump in the side of my neck.
Mm.
And at first I was just like, oh, it's probably just a swollen lymph, a swollen gland, probably nothing to worry about. I'm probably just getting sick. And I left it for a while, and it didn't seem to be getting any better. And in fact, it kind of felt like it was getting bigger at times. And so I thought, well, I better probably go get it checked out. But, I didn't want to go get it checked out because in those situations, you don't really just want to ignore it. But I went and got it checked out, and the first doctor said, it's probably no big deal. It's probably just a swollen gland, the same as what I was thinking. And she sent me away. She said, if it's still there within a month, come back. So I went home, but I didn't feel right about that. Something just didn't sit well in me, and I just didn't feel right about it. So I thought, time to go get a second opinion. Within a week, I was like, no, I need to go see someone else. So I went and saw another doctor, and he was straight onto it. Sent me for tests, and he was pretty annoyed at the first doctor that she just sent me away and said there's probably just a swollen gland.
Mm.
But anyway, I got tests done, got the biopsy done. So they cut out some lymph nodes. Got the biopsy done, and it came back as early stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I initially found it, and went down that path.
That's crazy. So what did you do? Like when you found out, like how did you proceed with treatment? And I mean, like, what was going through your mind? I'm sure it was like shocking you, 22 in the prime of your life, and then you get this diagnosis.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Hey, it is it is such a shock. I remember him saying to me, obviously I was nervous going back to the appointment to find out what it was. And I remember sitting down and he said to me, he said, interesting case, this one. Looks like you've got Hodgkin's lymphoma. And
When
I didn't know a lot about cancer at the time, but I knew enough to know that Hodgkin's lymphoma was cancer. And I guess I did go into shock because after that point, I don't remember a single thing he said. He kept talking, but I don't remember anything past that point. I think I just kind of went into shock, and I mean, the negative thoughts run through your head straight away when you get a cancer diagnosis and you think, okay, I'm going to die. You always think worst case scenario. I think this is the end of my life here. I'm only 22. I was engaged at the time, about to get married. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a shock. But like prior to that, in the years leading up, I did a lot of partying when I was younger. So a lot of drinking, smoking, late nights, and a lot of unhealthy food as well, fast food. And I was always interested in health. Like around the age of 14, I was always fit. I always played a lot of sports, and around 14, I picked up Men's Fitness magazine, and I was interested in learning how to manipulate the body through, working out and supplementation. But I didn't know enough at the time. Like my idea of health then was, gym supplements, which you learn later on are just full of rubbish. And you just assume that health and fitness go hand in hand. But a lot of the supplements that are pushed in the gym world are extremely bad for your health. And so,
Mm.
so I was doing that kind of thing, and I didn't really have a full understanding of what natural health was at that stage, but I was always interested in it. So when it came to treatment, I wanted to go down the natural route, but I didn't know enough. Like I was young, I didn't know enough about how to do it, and the doctors put the fear into you as well. So they say, oh, you got to start pretty much straight away. You need to, you know, they make it seem like you don't have time, when in actual fact, with most cancers, you have way more time than what they're telling you. But they want to get you in and out. Like it is a business, and it's a very profitable business.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you just, I went and saw a naturopath because I was like, I want to at least, get an opinion from a natural perspective, someone that would hopefully push me in the direction of doing it naturally. But the naturopath that I went to see, she was into combining therapies. So doing conventional treatment with natural protocols for the best outcome. And, who was I to argue that at the time? I didn't know enough. But I did get onto a bunch of natural stuff. So I did a lot of natural stuff during the process. Um, I, I took cannabis oil, another supplement called Gumby Gumby. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a traditional Aboriginal medicine here in Australia.
Mm.
It's shown to be pretty effective against cancer. I took colostrum. So my family on my mum's side has a dairy farm, and so I was able to actually get fresh colostrum, raw colostrum from them, take that. So I did various different natural supplements, but still I was just in the early phases of learning this stuff, so I didn't know enough about how to treat it naturally at the time. So I went down the conventional route, and in the end, that's what I decided to do.
So
But
did you do chemo? Like how long was that? How many sessions of chemo did you have to do?
yeah, so they said that my type of cancer is, one of the better ones when it comes to treatment. So, but they said, because you're young, we want to give you the heavy stuff, hit it hard, knock it out. You can handle it because you're young. So I remember there was 3 or 4 bags of different drugs that they'd have on the IV pole. And I would sit there for 3.5 hours at a time on the drip. And I think I did 4 sessions. So they call it 2 rounds. So a round is actually 2 sessions. But yeah, 4 sessions overall, and I think they were 2 weeks apart. So it was over the course of a couple of months. And I know a lot of people have it much worse, which they do it over longer periods. They may do lower dose of chemo, but I couldn't imagine doing it for longer than that because that was enough for me,
Mm.
honestly. So I did that, and then I had to do radiation every day for 3 weeks straight. So
Oh, to the neck, yeah.
yeah, to the neck area here, which they say is fairly targeted, but I know it's affected my thyroid. So now there's thyroid issues that I have to manage as well on top of that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, they really gloss over the side effects that come with this stuff, and they don't talk about the success rates or any of that. So in my book, I cover a lot of the things that you're not told, questions to ask your oncologist that you're not aware of at the time. So yeah, a lot of this stuff I learnt later on, but yeah, that's the treatment protocol I had to follow.
Yeah. And I do want to discuss your book because I was going to talk about it later and you mentioned it. So,
Sorry.
um, no, I'm glad because I do want to get to it because, uh, like what inspired you to write the book? Like, what was the inspiration that
Yeah.
brought you to that point?
Well, I guess afterwards I got so curious. I really wanted to recover my health, and so I started learning a lot more about natural health, and we can get into that in a bit. But the thing that inspired me to write the book mainly is I had a couple friends up here in the past couple of years that they they got cancer and they went through the conventional route, and I just watched it sort of wreak havoc on their bodies and what it did to them, and they both ended up dying.
Mm.
And so I yeah, thank you, but I yeah, so I learned a lot. That kind of pushed me to dive even deeper into learning about the industry and more about conventional treatment. And then as I started to learn, my mind was just blown about what it really entails, the success rates, how many people actually die from treatment as opposed to the cancer itself. So people go through treatment, and if they die, well, it's always,
The
you're
cancer.
told it's the cancer that killed them.
Yeah.
And so they get added to this statistic of, and this is how many people cancer is killing. But no one ever talks about the fact that it's a lot more often it's the treatment that's taking people out than the cancer. And there's I've put facts in the book. There's doctors who've looked at studies that have been done where they've looked at people who refused treatment, and those who've taken it, and the people. This is over a lot of people. And one study in particular found that the people who refused treatment live up to 4 times longer on average than the people who receive it with their cancer.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of corruption in all of it. And, doctors, I don't know if it's quite to the same extent here in Australia, but I know in America, doctors get kickbacks for every person that they sign up. And so they get a pretty substantial kickback too for every person they put through the doors. And, I remember sitting down with my oncologist, and because I was interested in natural avenues and using food to heal, I said to him at the time, I said, okay, so what foods are going to help me on this journey as I go through treatment? What will help me heal? And he said to me, he said, no, foods have nothing to do with it. No food is going to help you. Just keep eating KFC, cake, whatever you want. Just get food in
Wow.
because food has nothing to do with this. This is genetic. It's luck. And that's the story you're told, right? It's all genetic, which I don't agree with. I think that mitochondrial dysfunction is really the
Mhm.
primary driver of cancer, but this is not the story that the conventional system tells you. And yeah, so really, I just wanted to,
That's so mind blowing. Gosh, you just talk because it all like when I'm thinking about it, I can put it all together in my mind. I'm like, it makes sense. And yes,
yeah,
cancer industry is the highest the biggest money maker in healthcare, unfortunately. And, and obviously we're not here to like convince anyone one way or the
No.
other. We're not giving medical advice. You always should check with your doctor. We're just giving a personal experience of what Nathan has gone through. So I always want to mention that, because me being a medical person, and I'm the same way, I believe in naturopathic stuff and fasting,
Yeah.
in prevention and all that stuff. But I forgot to mention that earlier, but we're not here to talk anyone out of anything. We're just sharing the knowledge and experience, and definitely have to read Nathan's book.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have no qualifications, and I'm just sharing things that I've learned. I'm super passionate about health, and I just wanted the book to provide people with so they're informed,
Yeah.
before they make a decision. Because when you go through the conventional system, you're only told one side of the story. You're told that this is the only way. That if you do anything else, you're a fool. Natural health will not cure your cancer. And so the book really is just designed to teach you about what you're getting into, so that, look, if you decide to go down that route, that's totally anyone's choice. But at least you're informed going into it, and you know what you're getting yourself into, which I think a lot of people don't.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier too, it's like when you do choose to go the chemo route or radiation, knowing the other things like eating, like nutrition, like that is the key. Like when you going through all that stress that you put on your body through killing everything in your body, nutrition and like doing certain things that you mentioned, like that's important. Like you don't go and just eat KFC or whatever you can find, like some fast food. That is the worst thing you can do, because you're feeding the cancer. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I had, like my friend who was doing treatment, I had him on a lot of natural stuff. I was trying to, and he was doing natural stuff at the same time. But turmeric, for instance, he went to the oncologist and they said, "Oh no, you can't take turmeric because it's going to mess with the chemo drugs." And they say that about any natural supplement or anything you take, as though somehow these natural foods are going to overcome the toxicity of chemo. And I'm not sure if he did it or not, but the power of fasting when it comes to making chemo more effective, and also just the ability to help your body adapt to stress better. So if you fast a day before going into chemo, during, and the day after, if you do like a 3-day fast, it can be incredible for potentiating the results of chemo, but also just protecting your healthy cells. So stuff like that.
Do you is that included in your book about fasting and the impact of it on?
I have a little section at the end. So this book really doesn't get into too much of the natural side of things and how to treat it. I have a course coming out that will be on top of that. So a video course that will run people through, start to finish. From
When does what's the name of your book, and when does it come out?
Yeah, so the name of the book is From Treatment to Truth. And it's just a journey beyond mainstream cancer care. And I'll bring out the book and the course within the next, I don't have a set date yet, I probably should, but it'll be within the next month and a half to 2 months that I'll release it. So.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely link it in the description. And then obviously your Instagram. I'm sure you posted on your Instagram.
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
So at what point did you get interested or introduced to fasting?
Yeah, so I guess after treatment, and I didn't actually change my ways straight away. I still had unhealthy habits. You would think that you would change things.
Well, you were so young, you were 20.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah,
I don't know, like I don't know what I would do. I'll probably like whatever I eat and do whatever I want because I had cancer. I beat cancer, right? So
yeah. Well, and especially when you've got people like the doctors in your ear who say that food has nothing to do with it. And, you don't really know how deep you can go within the health realm until you start in it and you start going down rabbit holes and you learn more. So I guess, yeah, I just didn't know enough at the time. But um, I remember that my immune system was just shot afterwards, and I was getting sick.
Mm.
Funny story, actually. Not long after I finished, it was around Christmas time. My family had come up. I was living in a small rental at the time, so my parents came up, my brother and his wife, and I think they had one or two kids at the time. So there were a heap of people staying in this small rental with me, and it was family lunch on my mother's side of the family, Christmas lunch. And it was at the end of that lunch that I started to feel really, really sick. I was like, oh, we got to go. So I went home feeling sick the whole drive home. And then it started just vomiting, got gastro.
Mm.
And everyone was staying in the house, and it pretty much went through all of us. But because my immune system, they say, yeah, that wasn't a fun time, but my immune system was so short that I ended up, I was so crook, and I had to go to the hospital, and I ended up on drip in hospital, and
Mm.
it's just in a bad way. That really got me thinking. I'm like, man, I gotta recover my immune system.
Mhm.
Um, and so I probably didn't start fasting straight away. It was not long after that that I actually started on the keto diet. I was like, okay, I'd started reading about the keto diet, how it's good against cancer, all of these things. So I started on the keto route, and I felt incredible. The mental clarity I felt, I started to lose weight. I just felt way better. And so I was like, okay, there's something to this. And that's when I really started diving into health a lot more. But as you know, people combine fasting with keto due to its ability to lower insulin and drive glycogen out of your muscles and your liver and get you into ketosis faster. So I started combining fasting with keto. And then I started to actually dive into the research on fasting, and my mind was blown. And so from an immune system approach, started learning things about how you can fully reboot your immune system after a 3-day fast, stuff like that. So I started doing intermittent fasting initially. So fasting until lunchtime. Then I started doing longer fasts, and I've done a bunch of longer fasts. Still, the longest I've done is 4 days. I was aiming for 7 at one point, but I had a big work day coming up the following day, and so I decided to end it early because I didn't want to be on a 5-day fast and be doing extreme physical activity.
Mm.
But yeah, that's how I initially got into fasting. Um, and so I've used it as not only physical practice, as a spiritual practice as well. But yeah, I've just been blown away by the amount of benefits you can gain from fasting. And the best thing is it's free. But when it
Yeah.
comes to cancer, I tell everyone fasting should be one of the absolute first things you do when it comes to cancer. It is incredibly healing. It's one of the best approaches to fighting cancer.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't eat for 3 days, your body is, through autophagy, is eating and recycling the old
Yep.
cells, the mitochondria. Because, like you said,
Yep.
mitochondria, if it's a bad, non-functioning mitochondria, that can turn it into cancer cells or other bad cells that are not working, or the DNA, or, yeah. So and that's kind of like when I started fasting, it was all for weight loss. And then when I discovered all the other benefits, like anti-aging and like anti-cancer, like all this stuff that, like, it's just so
Yep.
mind-blowing. It just got me interested in it so much more, and like really learning the just behind it, not just like, oh, you fast or starve yourself just so you can lose weight, because that's such
Yeah.
an unhealthy. Yes, you can lose weight, but that's just not the healthiest way of thinking of it,
Yep.
but utilizing it as a healthy approach to prevention and just feeling good.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's the funny thing. A lot of people do think that you're just starving yourself, especially like when I first started doing it. There weren't like it seemed it's a lot bigger thing now on social media. A lot more people are getting into it, but back then there wasn't really that many people that I knew doing it. And so you used to get all these comments about why would you starve yourself? Why would you not eat food? And people just didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because I think we've just become so disconnected from our roots. Like, I always, when it comes to health, I always think in an ancestral way. I think once upon a time we would have been hunter gatherers, and that you wouldn't have had an abundance of food all the time. We didn't have fridges. We didn't have all these options we didn't have grocery stores. We couldn't just eat constantly. And from a normal biological function standpoint, it just makes sense to fast. But once you experience the benefits of it, and you feel so much better when you start to do fasting. My mental clarity is all, I enjoy not eating because my mental clarity is always so much better. As soon as I eat, I'm like, oh man, I wish I didn't eat.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
at the
yeah.
same time,
Huge
I
difference.
think you can, yeah, 100%. But at the same time, I think you can overdo it as well. And I think that I probably did overdo it at some point. I was doing a lot of fasting during the keto phase. And if I look back at photos of myself, probably had an unhealthy amount of weight loss because I did too much. So I probably lost muscle as well because, as you know, you're driving glycogen out of your muscle stores. And so I found it hard to work out. My muscles just didn't have the strength. So then I avoided working out a little bit as well. And so I probably lost some muscle loss. So there's balance with it. But
Yeah.
the benefits, if you do it right, the benefits are incredible.
Absolutely. So what is your routine now? Like you fast for prevention? Like how often do you do, I mean, do you fast every day, IF or intermittent fasting, or what is your routine right now?
Yeah, so I'm at the moment I probably do intermittent fasting every second day, I would say, or I'll just go through phases where it's like, okay, this week I'm going to do it every day. A lot of the time I go off feel now. It's like if I feel like I need to do it, but um, I'll do longer fasts. I'll do a 1 day fast either once every week or once every 2 weeks during that intermittent fasting period. I haven't done an extended fast for a little while, like a 3 or 4 day, but I've been feeling the need to do that again. So um, the extended fast, I probably don't like to do more than 2 to 3 times a year. Um, I think it's more sustainable to just do 1 day fasts or intermittent fasts more regularly. So that's probably my approach to it at the moment. But yeah, I don't like to overdo it uh, anymore, but I just go off feel a lot of the time.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, it can become kind of obsessive too when you're doing
Yeah,
it for weight loss. And I've been there. I lost 70 pounds like 4 years ago, and I was like skinny. Like people were asking
yeah,
me if I was sick. That's how
yeah,
skinny I got, and I didn't feel good. So, and it, I lost a lot of hair. So again, it has to be done right, especially for women.
yeah.
Men are a
Oh,
little bit
yeah,
more forgiving, but with women, hormones and everything, I did it all the wrong way. So now I
yeah,
try to teach and educate, and I myself, I'll do a fast like every season. That's usually my routine. I'll do a 3 to 5 day fast at the start of every season. Like springtime, I'll do a 3 to 4 day fast. I usually do it at like the new moon, like after full moon, new moon, if I can time it together. And I just do it for prevention, not necessarily for weight loss anymore, but just to
yeah.
prevent cancer or, you know, aging backwards. Yeah, I'm in my 40s, and when I was in
Oh,
my
wow,
30s, I looked a lot older in my 30s than I look in my 40s. So
wow.
it's an amazing tool for so many other things, not just weight loss. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I noticed. When you do it regularly, you do look younger. Just
Yes.
I don't know, everything about your health improves when you fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. The benefits, and what I like about the benefits when it comes to fasting is that it changes over time. So, the benefits you're getting in the 12 to 16 hour window are different to the 24 to 36 hour window. And you just keep gaining benefits the longer. At some point, there's a point of diminishing returns, but it is interesting in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And really like on the social media, on Instagram, I can't tell you how many times people will comment under my post and like, I could never go 3 days. I would probably die. People get so freaked out. And I'm thinking, the longest fast, the Guinness record of longest fast was 382 days or something. The guy fasted for 382 days or maybe 86
Wow.
days. I can remember. Barberi, he's a guy from Italy. And I'm thinking when I'm doing a 3-day fast and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a long time. When I think of over a year that somebody survived, yes, like people that are super thin and are underweight, that's not recommended for them because that will be hard. Like they'll be eating, their body's going to eat their muscle, but you don't just die from not eating. Most of us, I would say 99% of our population has enough fat to survive at least 3 days.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing is like your body consumes the fat first as its fuel. And that's, I guess, why it's so good for weight loss. But it's said that the average person contains around 100,000 calories worth just in fat on their body.
Absolutely.
And so even people who are, you would look at them and go, they're pretty skinny. It's surprising how much fat stores they have on their body and how long they could go fasting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've just become so disconnected from that in this modern age where we just have food on hand all the time that people just automatically think you're starving yourselves. And it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around getting into it.
And it's like that fear people have that fear if they can't have, like, if they can't eat lunch or dinner, they're like freak out. And so even for that, like just for that alone, knowing that peace in my mind, if there's for some reason we get snowed in and I have absolutely no food, I'm never going to freak out. I'm going to be fine. Like it never scares me. Like, and it used to, I'm like, oh my gosh, in United States, you go to, when there's a snowstorm or something, you go to the store and every shelf is sold out, like bread and milk and everything, because people freak out. They're so afraid of like starving and they don't. So going through that mental process of knowing like, I'm good, like I don't have to eat all the time. And then if you're at work and for some reason, like I work in the medical field, there's times where I can't get lunch, right? And a lot of times I don't eat lunch. And they come in at like 2 in the afternoon to give me a lunch, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry that we didn't give you lunch. And I'm like, I'm good. And they're surprised that I'm like not hangry and freaking out. I'm like, no, I'm good. Totally.
Yeah.
So it's such a peace of mind. That's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's such a conditioning thing. Like we've just been conditioned to think that way. And it's funny because I've always had physical jobs, and a lot of the time I'd fast on physical jobs, and the people would say to me, "Oh, you got to get some food and you got to sit down and eat. You need energy." I'm like, "No, I'm more energized without food, honestly."
Yeah.
But I think once people experience the benefits, once they try it, I think that the mistake a lot of people make is trying to go too hard too soon. I've seen people go, I'm just going to do a 3-day fast straight off the bat. And it's a horrible experience for them because they're not conditioned to it. They've never done that before. And so it's kind of like exercise, people get into it and they're like, I'm just going to go hard. I'm going to go do a 10K run, and they haven't done it. They've been sitting in the lounge and then it's a horrible experience and they don't want to do it again. So I think when you're first starting out, you just have to start small. Just extend your eating window by an extra couple hours and then another couple hours, and just take it slow. And once people start to do that and experience the benefits, I think more people would really enjoy it. We'd definitely be a much healthier society if everyone practiced fasting.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, by the way. Yeah, like comparing it to like running a 10K or half marathon, like you have to train not only your body but your mind to go that distance. Same thing with fasting, if you're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner with snacks, maybe just make your breakfast later or decrease the snacks and just slowly get in that habit of like, I'm okay, because your mind is going to freak out. And like you said, you're going to have a terrible experience. It can be done. And I actually did a 5-day fast just out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
It was really hard, and I mean, like I was freaking out, but it was like a group
Yeah.
fast, so I did it. I don't recommend it. I definitely recommend doing it in a slow fashion. I think it's
Yeah.
better for your body, because if you are doing it
Yep.
like too fast, you increasing the cortisol in your body too, the stress hormones, and at the same
Yep.
time, you maybe not getting into autophagy, or you're increasing your
Yep.
blood sugar, so you're not going into ketosis as fast when you are in a
Yep.
high stress situation. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. And like, as you would know, when you start out, you're so hungry the first time you do it.
Hmm.
But when you start out on a smaller scale and you can just make it till lunchtime, it's like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And once your body adjusts and that comes to normal, I can go to lunchtime without even thinking about food these days. Like, it doesn't phase me. But when you first start out and you skip breakfast for the first time, you're like, oh man, I'm hungry. Like, how, how am I going to make it to lunch? But your body does adjust. The body is an incredibly adaptable um, machine, really. And, once you practice it and it becomes your normal, you stop thinking about food. You're not obsessed. It's nice to just not be, like you said, obsessed about food. I see so many people, they're just obsessed with food. It's like they can't go more than 2 hours. It's like, I've got to eat something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be controlled by food in that way.
Oh, absolutely. Or when you're traveling or you're flying and you're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I gotta have food. Or I just drove, like when I got here, I just drove like 7.5 hours, and I didn't have to stop to eat. I'm gonna have dinner and something
Yep.
that I enjoy, instead of like snacking on just crap food when I'm driving. And it's just so easy. Like it makes my life so much easier and just simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You make healthier choices too, because say you're at the airport or you're on the road, you're never really around healthy food. And so if you're going to eat in those places, you're usually eating rubbish. But when you can fast, you just go, that's all right. I'll just eat when I get home, or get to somewhere that has healthy food. So you avoid a lot of unhealthy food by the practice as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love hearing, people in your age, young in their 30s, like implementing fasting. I think it's so awesome to see more and more people making it okay. Like again, when I
Yep.
started 5, 6 years ago, I mean, you were looked at like someone that's crazy. Like I didn't even discuss fasting. I never talked about it to anyone because people
Yep.
would freak out. But now, with the intermittent fasting and the prolonged fasting, it is a little bit more talked about, and people,
Yep.
are not like looking at you like you're insane. So I
Yep.
do like that. I love that people are looking into fasting. Of course, it is free. That's like one of the biggest benefits of fasting, but
100%. Yep.
yeah, but it has to be done right. You can't just follow some crazy maniac out there that tells you to fast long, fast hard, don't look at anything. And you have to, especially as a female, you have to make sure you're fasting at the right times of your cycle, because you can really mess up your hormones. It can be amazing for your hormones when you implement
Yes.
it at the right time, but when you do it at the wrong time, it can actually do you more harm than good. And that happened to
Yep.
me long while back. So
Yep.
definitely, if you want to get into fasting, reach out, either one of us, Nathan or myself, and grab his book. And what is your course about?
Yeah. So the course is more, the course will be more on the nutrition side of things. Not just nutrition. It'll be about detox, gut health,
Mhm.
nutrition, the mental aspect, and the spiritual aspect. Because I believe in a mind, body, spirit approach to health. I believe that all three work in conjunction with each other to produce the best outcome. And, you can be eating all the right foods, you can take all the right supplements, but if you can't deal with, say, unforgiveness in your heart, or if you're dealing with a lot of fear, well, you're going to be increasing your stress hormones, your cortisol, you're going to be increasing your blood sugar. There's so much that comes with stress. Like, stress is one of the biggest reasons why people go to the doctor in the first place. It causes so many issues in your body. So it's not just about nutrition when it comes to treating cancer. And I know a lot of people out there who would say that they were doing everything right. They were eating healthy, they were exercising, but they still got cancer. And a lot of the time it can be related to an emotional aspect, or maybe you're not getting enough sleep, or you're actually overdoing it. Maybe you're over exercising. There's all of these things that come into it, that it's not just about nutrition. And that's why, I don't believe in doing these days. I know for myself personally, if I got cancer again, I would never go down the conventional route. I know enough now to know that I can absolutely treat myself naturally. And I'm not saying that for anyone else. I'm not a doctor. I'm not pushing that. That's just my personal opinion. And I don't believe in doing conventional treatment because it doesn't treat the root cause. You don't overcome the disease at a root cause level. So a lot of the time with treatment, it may suppress the tumor for a short period of time, but a lot of the time it comes back afterwards, and you're left in a worse state than when you first started health-wise, because these therapies, they are toxic, and chemo is actually carcinogenic, which just it's mind-blowing. But so for me, I wouldn't go that route ever again, because I'm all about treating the root cause, and I don't believe that these drugs do it. And so the course will be taking you from the book, which will be informing you about the decision that you make. So if you choose to go the conventional route after reading the book and you're informed on what it's all about, that's great. But you can still integrate these other approaches along with that. But if you go from the book and you go, okay, I don't want to do conventional treatment, then this course is there to help and guide you through supplementation, nutrition, mindset, the spiritual aspect, all of that.
So is the course for people that have cancer? Or is it also for prevention as well? Or
it can be for prevention, and people with cancer. Yeah, because I approach things. I think every person should detox in this day and age. Every person should get their gut health right, because your nutrition's only as good as what you're absorbing. So if you've got poor gut health, then it's not going to be doing it. So these issues need to be addressed for, and it's not just about cancer. Yeah, this is, mainly targeted towards cancer. But if you want to overcome any disease, these practices are things that you need to do. You need to detox the body. We're exposed to ridiculous amounts of toxins on a daily basis, and it's impossible to avoid them all. I do teach people to get rid of, household products that contain toxins. Learn to do things like distill your water or have great water filters. That's an incredible source of toxins. Tap water.
That's great.
You want to do what you can to remove these things, but it's impossible to avoid it all. So I talk through things like that as well.
That's awesome. I love that. I want to just acknowledge you for doing this, for using your experience to share it with others and help others, because this is so important, not only, when you have cancer, but like you mentioned, like all these other things, like household products. I eliminated all like toxic household products probably 3 or 4 years ago from my home. And that's something we don't think about, like how much we inhale the products, we touch it, it's in our clothes, the clothes we wash and certain things, or the dryer sheets, it's all cancer. Like it's so bad for you, the toxins in it. Our sheets, you sleep in your sheets, you wear the clothes that you wash in the toxic, whatever, your glasses, right? If you drink out of a glass that was washed in a toxic detergent or dish soap, there's so much to it. But and again, this is not to get people overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, there's so much I have to change. Even if you do one small change whenever you can, it's still better than nothing. And a lot of times you can get better non-toxic products for not much more, and maybe even less sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the stuff that I use, like, some of it's a little bit more expensive, but there's certain like dishwashing cleaners, for instance, that are way cheaper, and you can make your own. A lot of the time when it comes to cleaning products, you can make cheap cleaning products that are super effective. You're just not taught about them, so people don't think that that's the norm. But You can do it with essential oils, vinegars, that kind of stuff. There's
Baking
a lot
soda,
you can
yeah.
do yourself. But
Absolutely.
on that note, like, yeah, there's, like you say, you don't want to overwhelm people with all of this, but it is just about making small changes one step at a time. And I'm still making changes. There's still things that I need to get out of my home, and it takes time and it takes money and effort, but you just continue to get better.
And it's worth it. It's worth it. Even if it's
Yeah.
one small change a month, don't focus on everything, but focus on one thing, whether it's water or whatever soap that you're using or deodorant, for
Yep.
women, especially under arms, So yeah, there's so much. I want to
Yeah.
respect your time, Nathan. And my last question that I like to ask all my guests is, what are the three things you wish you had known sooner? I know you have so much, probably, but this is related to anything, your health, your relationships, anything in life.
Probably the first thing I wish I had have known more about was the impact that food really does have on your health. It does matter what you put in your body. Uh, on some level, I knew that, and I think everyone does. But when I was younger, I just sort of went, "She'll be right. It'll be fine." Um, Look at those people that they smoke their whole lives and they make it to their 90s. And part of that is, some people have really great genetics, but what's their quality of life?
Mm.
You know, but what you put into your body really does matter. I wish I had have known about healing modalities sooner, things like fasting.
Mm.
I'm sure if I incorporated fasting sooner in my life, um, I could have avoided cancer or, other health problems. Taking care of your emotional health is another aspect of that I probably didn't think about, and how much that can affect you overall as well.
Mm. Yeah,
So
those are great. Those are all great. Yeah. And life lessons, So,
yeah,
and it's never too late. Even if you're in your, yes, like I wish I've started sooner, even for myself. But even if you're in your 60s, it's never too late. You can still turn your health around and do certain things through natural, foods, nutrition, and whatever else that you need to incorporate to feel better and just live a better life, better quality of life. Not like to live long, but is to live a quality life. Like I don't want to be 90 and bedridden, right? Like I want to be able to go walking every day without like cane or wheelchair or whatever. Those are
yeah, definitely.
yeah. So
I think society's conditioned to think that's the norm now, where it's like, oh, when I get old, I'll be in a wheelchair, I'll be hardly able to
yeah,
walk or
it becomes
diseased
like
or
the
whatever
norm.
it is. But it doesn't have to be the norm. And you just got to start small. And I think that's a good thing about social media is that there's a lot more awareness about this stuff now. People are getting more on board. Like you say, when you and I first started doing fasting, there weren't really many people doing it, and people thought you're crazy. But there's a lot more people on board now.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, you just have to teach yourself one thing at a time, and it's not too late to start, but it's best to start now before disease comes.
absolutely. Yeah,
Prevention is the best cure.
absolutely. Where can people find you, Nathan?
Yeah, so at the moment, I will have more social media running, different social medias at the moment. You can find me on Instagram at Origin Vitality. That's Origin_Vitality. And I share a lot of cancer information there and general health information. And that's where you'll be able to find the link to my book and my course once it's released as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. I enjoyed our conversation and learning so much through your journey, and props to you for overcoming all these obstacles in your life. And here you are turning around and doing things to educate others and help others. So thank you.
No, thank you very much, Monika. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, it's nice to just be able to help other people through things that I've learnt and hopefully help create a healthier world and less diseased people. So I really appreciate you having me on here. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Nathan. And I'll link your Instagram and everything in the description. And then when your book comes out, I'll put it in there as well.